Sachin.
Is it his background, like where he came from out of the Cultural Revolution and out of the Great Leap Forward and built this company from in pretty tough
Right,
times?
part of it, you need to speak up for our global friends, but it is his background. How did somebody do this? Jasmine?
He also seems to have very high personal ideals. He has a huge emphasis on human capital and quality.
Right.
Which is something that China has been rumored to be lacking. For example, he sacrificed, not sacrificed, but he was willing to give up exclusive rights with the American firm because he believed in the quality of his automobile parts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He's a man of strong. You cannot meet this man. I met him. You cannot meet this man without understanding that you are in the presence, really, of an extraordinary person, a dynamic entrepreneur, and somebody who really has made a difference, but will continue to make, a person who's 100% in charge of this enterprise, even as it gets larger. So that's another reason. I think Josh had already mentioned this. If you're interested in business and history, this is an extraordinary business history topic. So, what are they trying to do for the first 2 or 3 years of this business? And if you don't remember, I brought you the history of the Wanxiang Company, published by Wanxiang. It's in the form of a comic book. And here's Mr. Lu. Here's one of their native factories. Here they are starting the company. Here's the history of this area. There's Mr. Lu starting. So anybody who wants to read the real history of Wanxiang, here, Wanxiang Shiyan, it's right there for the taking. What do they do for the Kara?
So they would try to gather scrap metal basically to make their tools.
Right, they have no tools. So no state allocation. They have, in this context, they have no tools. They get scrap metal from whom?
I think this is plow cutting blades and components from plow tractors.
Right, does it say where it comes from? I thought it did. Ned?
It says cannon barrels.
Cannon. So there's ordnance, there's PLA. They get scrap metal from the army in order to make tractor plows. Imagine, so you want to start a business, you have to find metal to make your tools. You can't buy them from anywhere, even with your $500. You find the metal to make your tools. You get them from the army. Now, ordnance metal is actually pretty high quality, right? If you're going to shoot a cannon and a shell over to Taiwan, it has to be pretty good steel. So they get really good steel. So you have, Julia, you have 300 pounds of steel now in your backyard, and it's 1969. And your job, your particular job, is to put this into tractor plows. How do you do it?
Do I just guess? I would
Just guess, because I mean that's what they did.
I think to start off, I would start kind of like
You would hammer them.
Yeah, like metallurgy.
So here's Mrs. Lu, who is you. And look what she does. You can hardly see that.
Oh, so she does do it by hand.
She does it by hand, but she welds by hand for 3 years.
Tough.
Time is not money during the great proletarian cultural revolution. They had nothing else to do. Might as well invest in the future. But she does this literally, taking weapons and putting them into something remarkably useful. Shows you how what a different world we're in today, Arna?
So I thought so it's not very clear in the case, how they're selling those tools that they are making from the scrap metals and
Right.
stuff. I would only assume, since it's only 4 years after they founded the company in '69, that they were allowed to sell in SOE, that they're probably selling to some private farms. That's how they're making their money.
Right.
But it's not so.
The business is very unclear in the case from 1969 to 1973, and not by accident in some ways. If you know the more nuanced periodization of the history of the PRC, 1969 is a horrific time to think of setting up a truly private enterprise. And so you might want to keep your head down for a bit. 1973 is a moment. Deng Xiaoping comes back before he's purged again. It's a moment of comparative openness. There are opportunities for enterprises to do something different against the... Sarah?
I have a question. Since he's getting this medal from the Army,
Yeah.
does that imply that the Army or somebody powerful believes in what he's doing, or would the Army have given medal to just anybody?
Anybody with money, presumably. So they use some of this money to get this scrap metal. There's no evidence at all in the case or of a kind of this is not the Ningwei military-industrial complex. It's founded in 1969, but it can really only do business in some serious way after 1973. Okay, very good. What do they then do? What gets this thing going? What's their takeoff trick or takeoff tool, as it were? Jonathan.
After being rejected for kind of becoming a part of the government's kind of procurement and central economic plan, he smartly left some of his tools behind as samples.
Right.
And once the market for those tools grew, the government discovered that his tools are of superior quality.
Right, so they're making really good tools in this tiny little shack that I'll show you a picture of. There is a picture in the case. What kind of tools are they making, Jonathan?
I think that they're plows.
They do start making impact attempts. And what's the one tool that really gets them going?
Well, eventually it's universal.
All right, so they get into it by making a universal joint. So what is a universal joint? I'll give you the Wikipedia definition here. It's a joint or a coupling in a rigid rod that allows the rod to bend in any direction, and so it can send power in different directions and energy in different directions. What is a universal joint?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
That's all right. It's not a requirement. It might be on the final exam. All right, Kat.
No, I'm not into cars, but that's why I looked it up, and it's actually this kind of like rotating joint that allows a bar to bend in different ways. So there was like this like animation on Wikipedia, and you see like this bar with this like rotating joint, and that allows it to turn in different directions. So I'm guessing
It puts power that can go in multiple directions. Chris, you want to amplify this?
I think Kat's spot on, but I think the application is like it allows the car wheels to actually be turned in different directions for like front wheel drive and rear wheel drive.
Okay. Really?
So
okay.
This is a very critical part in car, especially the chassis system. So it basic function is turn the rotation of the mechanical part into different way, so that you can use it in the steering wheel and in wheels.
Right.
Also.
And what does Wanchang mean in Chinese?
It's basically, it's like multiple direction.
10,000 directions.
10,000 directions.
So it's basically for a universal joint. So if you learn nothing else in this course, you will know what a universal joint is. Something that's absolutely essential for the working of virtually every motor vehicle. And so they have they've got in there, it's a really important part. You can't do a case like this unless from the inside, unless you have access to the company. The student visits helped. I was very fortunate to meet now 3 or 4 times with Chairman Mu. I had a research associate in Hong Kong who could also follow up. It's a famous company in China, so you can write about this in China, even though totally unknown outside. And of course, it has a company in the United States that one can visit. Why would Wanchang want to do this case? They could have said no, in which case I could have done it from library sources or something of this sort. What's their motivation to cooperate in writing a business school case?